Congressman Cummings and I know that the recent events in Baltimore are not the result of a single tragedy. These events are also about millions of people, young and old, here and across the country, who find themselves struggling to make it in a system that is increasingly rigged against them. This struggle to build a financial future is especially difficult for communities of color. In 2013, median wealth for white families was $142,000. That was the family right in the middle, not averages, the median. Median wealth for African American families, right in the middle, was $11,000. Think about that difference, $142,000 and $11,000. This startling difference is not just the short-term impact of economic blows, but the impact of blows that reach across the generations, when many white families accumulated just a little more and just a little more, a better deal on a mortgage, in a better neighborhood, a college education, access to credit to start a small business, and everyone who didn't have access to that was left behind. It has to stop. Look at housing. After decades of being ripped off, first through restrictive deed covenants, then through redlining, then through deceptive land contracts, African Americans were left with less and less wealth. Then along came Wall Street, ready to target African American neighborhoods for the worst of the subprime mortgages. And then, when the crisis hit, data show that black families got hit harder again. In 2012, just one example, Wells Fargo paid the Justice Department $175 million to avoid prosecution for charging higher fees and rates to more than 30,000 minority borrowers than they charged white borrowers with exactly the same risks, and for steering over 4,000 minority borrowers into costlier subprime mortgages when white borrowers received safer, cheaper loans. The Department of Justice called it a racial surtax, and they were right. Another way that wealth has been stripped out of our communities of color is through predatory practices that target those who already live on the margins of our mainstream financial system. It's a challenge faced by families throughout this country, and it's our focus today. Many Americans use traditional banks and credit unions to cash checks, to pay their bills, and to borrow money. But for millions more, traditional banking is closed off. For some, a $100 minimum balance to open a checking account isn't easy. For others, access gets harder as many big banks pull branches out of poorer neighborhoods and relocate in richer neighborhoods. Millions of families turn to check cashers, payday lenders, and title loan outfits, and the costs can be crushing. The average family that relies on alternative financial services, now listen to this, spends an average of $2,412 per year. That is about 10% of their income on just fees, interest, and trying to keep it all going in financial services. It is about the same amount that the average American family spends on food, 10% of their income, 10% on financial services from the families that can afford it the least, 10% sucked right out of their pockets because they can't find a way into traditional banking services. For those who get caught up with payday loans, the costs can spiral out of control. A single loan can quickly become a cycle of debt after debt, fee after fee after fee. Title loans can be just as bad, but they add the extra pain of losing the car, and often the only way someone can get to work. That's not a business model. That's a trap designed to ensnare families that can't build enough financial cushion to weather the ups and downs. And it is a trap that makes sure that those families never will build the cushion they need. What's happening to the American security of African American families reflects what's happening to the middle-class families all across this country, only worse. Families feel it in their bones. They're looking for jobs, they're working to buy homes, they're trying to build some economic security. They are working harder than ever, but they are falling behind. Today, we have panelists with us who will talk about their experience with these issues. And I especially want to hear more about what the federal government can do, whether it's taking a closer look at the Community Reinvestment Act, which was designed to encourage banks to invest in these communities, or the idea that the post office could expand its financial services offerings, just as it did many, many decades ago. This is about choices. And it is time for our country to make new choices, choices that will give all of our families a fighting chance to build a future for their kids and their grandkids. It is time to act now because our families can't wait any longer. Thank you again, Congressman Cummings.
Thank you.
Thank you.